Second mic. Now it's better. Now someone might hear that I'm on the stage. Yeah, okay, so thank you for being here. The presentation gonna be important. I created it, so I know. It's gonna be cool, it's gonna be fun. Um, it's basically we're gonna talk about a story of explaining game development to Lithuanian government in a way that Lithuanian government loved it. The story starts late 2013. Oh, I have a clicker now. I have more control. Perfect. But before we start, this card, any one of you has seen this card before? The logo with the Lithuanian colors and right? Okay, so that's part of the story. We created that together with Invest Lithuania. And the second part, any one of you heard about game development companies moving to Lithuania for some reason? Just right. So that's the story I'm going to talk about. Pretty much all that movement is because of, well, not quite because of this guy, but he kicked lots of the stuff, and that is me. And we'll start from an intro. An intro is that my job is to travel and to play games, to travel and talk about that. So that sounds like a dream job, and this is indeed a dream job. It's much more complicated, but for the sake of fun, we can say that my job was to travel and play games. And I moved to Lithuania in year 2008. One more mic. Okay, I can hold two mics. I break the mics often. So I moved to Lithuania in 2008 from Minsk. I was born in Ukraine. And I started working at Unity Technologies. If anyone knows about that, Unity Technologies. Anyone knows about games? Correct. Oh boy, it's much more than I expected. So basically for the rest, imagine that about half of the all games on the Apple App Store is made with this tool. So this is a tool to make games. And in Vilnius, Lithuania, there is a second largest R&D office of this company worldwide. So half of the games in the Apple App Store are made with a technology that is partly made in Vilnius. So this is something to be proud of. That's where I started to work as an engineer, and then I work as an evangelist, as a technology evangelist. And later on, I moved to a company who makes games, which is Game Insight. They moved their headquarters to Vilnius. And so right, I work on bringing game dev to Lithuania. I do a lot of crazy stuff. Like, for example, right now I try to evangelize both locally and globally about virtual reality. There is a Lithuanian virtual reality group on the Facebook. We do events, we do just various stuff. Back at Unity Technologies, I kicked up game dev education here in Lithuania. And in fact, recently with Invest Lithuania, we calculated that 4 or 5 years from now in Lithuania, there are going to be about 1,500 graduates with game dev degree, one way or another, both programmers and artists. Just think about that. 1,500 people going to be game dev savvy in this country. There are going to be lots of cool games coming out of that. Right. And the story begins. It actually goes back to year 2013, quite late. What you see in the picture is Vice President of Unity Technologies of EMEA talking to Invest Lithuania and some of the studios. Actually, that's the CEO of one of the studios who moved here. However, the picture is much later in the timeline. The very start was pretty much when people from Invest Lithuania came to the office of Unity Technologies and said, okay, so we looked around and thought that game dev industry is very cool, it was like, wow, so the government tells me that the games are cool. Okay, I want to talk to this government. So pretty much, it was that investment advisors at Invest Lithuania evaluated the market and thought that in game dev, everyone works in R&D. There is no pretty much help desk, no, well, less creative, less useful stuff. So they thought that if they attract more game dev studios to Lithuania, there are going to be lots of R&D people working for that. So lots of young people gonna find the work as programmers and as artists, and that's how it started. And then I thought, okay, well, let's see how it works out. I mean, some government people, yeah, they tell the story is nice. Let's see how they deliver. So I invited some of my friends from outside of Lithuania to talk to the government, not to come, but to talk first. And surprisingly, they responded to all the emails and they served my friends really well. Imagine the excitement when someone from the government responds to an email in 11 in the evening. It's like, okay, you're really motivated. So, and obviously, then I started to make more introductions, and the first wave of people who spoke to the government is like, okay, so like you respond well, you know what you're doing. They introduced more of their friends, so it kind of grew. It grew and grew and grew, and then it grew to a way that people actually decided, okay, email phase is okay. Let's see what's actually that Vilnius is. And that was already spring 2013. People started coming to Lithuania, and not like just people, but executives. We counted that within the first 6 months of year 2014, 10 to 15 high-profile execs from game dev industry visited Vilnius to look around, to see what's, to just experience the city, experience the vibes, talk to local industries, and actually talk to the government. And if you remember well, year 2014 is known for the Ukrainian crisis, so people were afraid of doing something in that region. And companies from that region felt bad about the potential of their future, so they wanted a safe place to keep, their company, their employees, well, their servers, after all. And that's how Lithuania played in well. Lithuanian government offered not just help, but also incentives. Not game dev specific, what was a bummer, but specific to all pretty much potential investors. However, this worked pretty well, and people started, just doing something here. It was hard, especially for the first wave, since no one did that before, and we had to work with Sorainen, which is a law firm. And actually, it's a nice example of local business reacting to the challenge. So Sorainen, which is a law firm, they invented game dev department. So just an easy sell. That's a super expensive firm, and but like you're an outsider and you want to do stuff in Lithuania, and then there is lawyers who call themselves like who have game development department. So you obviously would work with them. Other law firms actually later on started to catch up. So anyways, the cool part here is that those executives, those high-profile people, those industry influencers, they started to create so-called social media content. So imagine a CEO of a 800 people company, say tweeting or posting on the Facebook how awesome is in Vilnius. This creates much more influence than advertisement or any kind of country promotion. High-profile industry execs post to Facebook that this is nice to be in Vilnius. It's that he is welcome here. What was even nicer, that in West Lithuania, even Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they kinda played with this content. They retweeted these execs. They reposted on the Facebook. They put their tweets to the newsletters. And those executives, those high-profile people, they were like, okay. So they felt even much more welcome. They felt the local government is so down to the earth that pretty much, I mean, they felt it was an endorsement from local government. And this created that hype, and quite fast. So pretty much within the 6 months, the Lithuania was this whole initiative became known in the region. So whenever you go, say, to Ukraine, to Belarus, to Russia, and that's mostly what the countries I tried to work with, because it was a clear use case. So you go to the industry show there, and then you hear, so okay, you're from Lithuania, tell me more about opportunities there. I hear people are moving to Lithuania. So it was known. The funny story is that Estonian government figured out that, and they were like, okay, so obviously they also have Invest Estonia, and the KPI for year 2015 for Invest Estonia was to outplay Lithuania. However, after 6 months of them investing lots of money and lots of time in that, they disassembled the division. I mean, it didn't work. It didn't work. You cannot just put, well, obviously there is only one country. You cannot be the second. And then you also need something more than just government will. You have to have that industry. Oh, another thing before I switch from this photo. So I'm praising government here. However, there is one more important point, that those high-profile people coming to Lithuania, that there is one more point that helped these people to believe in the country, to believe in the city. And the point is people, local business. So whenever they go, there is microbreweries, there is various small bakeries, small boutique shops. And like, this is very important, they could pay with credit card everywhere. In every small shop, they could pay with credit card. And they were like, okay, so even if small business works legally without any gray economy, meaning it's really easy to have business here, to run business here. And they were like, okay, now we believe that the country doesn't prohibit that or inspire to be entrepreneurial, to do business. So this worked. Ta-da! We're back to the heart. I thought that praising people is not that good, since most of the people who were involved from the very start actually moved on to different positions. So I would focus more on more generic stage who helped for this whole thing to boot up. So we still started with Invest Lithuania. Then we started working with Enterprise Lithuania, and it was about events. It was about just helping those who moved in to operate in here. And at a certain point, we became so productive that we had a working groups and weekly meetings with those who moved over, plus Invest Lithuania, plus Sorainen, plus sometimes other government executives. We tried to brainstorm of what has to be changed for the game development to be more welcome in Lithuania, for the laws to work. Since and the main question, for example, was double taxation. Since today, even it's still today. I mean, it's not fixed still, but I know people are still working on that. So, for example, if you're Lithuanian and your company is Lithuanian and you sell, for example, a game on the App Store or on Steam, you get money from the US, so you have to pay the taxes there. When your money are booked or recognized in Lithuania, you have to pay taxes again. So this is a double taxation. So we weren't able to fix that, but we were very close, and we're still very close. Unity Technologies, my former employee, when I actually started doing all that, the CEO of the company itself, he didn't believe in myself playing or like working with the government and with public sector, but they did not prohibit me. And they were okay with me spending lots and lots of time on that initiative, and that actually felt like a full-time job at some point. So what, I guess the most important thing I wanted to thank Unity for was that they helped with education here in this country. So when I started, it was only MIF and KTU, so who actually did some game development. However, today, if you count, it's pretty much every technical university, they have game dev course. Lots of colleges have game dev course. It's mostly based on Unity. And that is cool since that's a standard tool. And DevGam. DevGam is a conference in Moscow. And they're looking into doing something in Vilnius later, next year probably. I want to thank them for actually inviting, or like helping now to spread the word. Imagine, this was year 2014, and when it started to boot up, you know, in public institutions, like for example in West Lithuania, you have to arrange events, like plan for events like a year in advance. It's just the process. You couldn't move fast. So obviously, Lithuanian government couldn't just come to that event. So that event did everything themselves. So even this logo was created for that event specially and put in every bag for all the attendees and all that. Vilnius Tech Park, they haven't started yet. However, that's a major like point of attraction. And I hear there are rumors of something game dev in this park, like an incubator or whatever, but those are rumors, I don't know. So yeah, Surainen, I mentioned them, Kanobu. That's the first Russian media, they're actually quite large. So they took a courage of actually helping us to spread the word. And like, I'm saying courage since, again, like imagine, like if you remember that hard year with crisis and information and lots of, you know, tensions between the countries. And these guys are very open. They were coming, they came to Login, they came to other Lithuanian events, and actually helped us to spread the word about game dev in the country. So that's something cool and courageous for them. CG event. It happened, so CG event is pretty much event for computer graphics professionals. It's pretty much the main event for everyone who works in computer graphics, be it cinema, be it games, be it whatever. It happened in Lithuania a month ago, yeah, for the first time. Normally, so they brought Adobe, they brought Autodesk, they brought like the large partners here, and the guys are again from Moscow. Okta, that's local CG studio. They were one of the first to actually help us promote the word. Game Inside, that my current employee, we sponsor lots and lots of game dev events. Even student events, say like student hackathons. So yeah, Game On, that's the show that's gonna be late October 31st, 5,000 people. Everything about games, super cool. Lithuanian Game Dev Station. They help to spread the word. So like Green Garage, very recent initiative. I think they have a booth here. They host our group and we feel welcome there. And for example, in a few weeks, we're gonna have an event there about starting your career as game developer. So people from Unity gonna come over, I gonna come over, and we're gonna explain, so okay, you're a student today, or you go to school, you're still a school kid, so, but you want to do something in game development. So what do you do next? How do you advance? How do you actually get a job as a game developer? This event happens at Green Garage, October 22. So yeah, great local community. I mean, everyone I forgot. It's so much people were involved into that. But while I still have 5 more minutes, there are 2 slides. The slides with takeaway and with the bottom line. I thought it would be wise to actually create 2 slides. One slide for mere mortals and the other slide for government employees. So the takeaway for mere mortals is that pretty much even and I tried to find the craziest picture of myself I have. The takeaway is that, like, you don't have to be a high-profile exec somewhere high in the government, somewhere high within the industry, to actually make a change. All you have to do is, well, just spend lots of time and inspire people. I mean, it's like this bearded guy just could connect everyone and kick up both education and business and all of that. So I guess if you don't have a beard and have more hairs on the head, you still can do that. So anyway, you don't have to be a high-profile exec to make a change. All you need to do is to want to make a change. Actually, yes, it was lots of try and error. I spent a lot of time on that. Eventually, I ended up in 2 pitches, one pitch for a local government, another pitch for outsider companies. Actually, like, the idea was the same. However, I had to package it differently, and it worked. The promise takeaway for public sector. I couldn't find a relevant picture. I was afraid to offend someone with the pictures that felt fun to me. That's why there is no picture and 3 lines. So the talk was quite inspirational. Yes, you can do that. Yes, so like just everything went well. No, it wasn't. It was like lots of ups and downs, lots of disappointments. However, the result is great. And now, while you heard the great part of the story, the downside is that there is very little actually magical in game development. However, it's just a nice disruptor term. It's just game development. Everyone knew there is lots of money in game development. Everyone knew the industry was huge. No one knew how to work with that here in Lithuania. They found partners, and it just booted up. So it's just a nice disruptor term. For example, if someone from the public sector want to remove the same story, want to repeat the same story today, there are more terms. For example, virtual reality. Everyone knows that there is virtual reality somewhere out there. No one knows where. No one knows how to work with that. However, whoever takes the courage to promote the term, to do something about that, that someone would get all the industry following up for him, and that someone would kind of own the term in a way that Invest Lithuania owns game development, for example. Or artificial intelligence. It's always. It's also like, what's artificial intelligence? Everyone knows it's somewhere there. So those are disruptor terms. Or makers, which are home engineers, like 3D printing, 3D scanning, and whatnot. What's about that? So those are just new disruptor terms, and whoever from the public sector takes on these terms would pretty much repeat the story of game development, would be able to own that. So those are modern disruptor words. I need a picture, sorry. Okay, I still have 1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes. And let's dedicate 1 minute and 17 seconds to the city some of you live in. Who's from Vilnius here? We have quite a few, about half of you. Okay, so Vilnius actually it's a hot place to be in, and not for the reasons you normally think about. So when you tell your friends from other companies, from other countries about Vilnius, you say, yeah, there is a large old town, we have nice beer, we have Trakai Castle. So no, it doesn't work. I mean, in every city, in every country, there is like old town and the castle and the beer and whatever. So it doesn't work this way. What I found fascinating from the people coming to Vilnius is that they see there is so much going on the streets, and that the people, Vilnius people, feel like they own the city and just they make whatever they want to make. They're free on the streets. No one prohibits, like, so the street culture, like there was skateboards and bikes and all that. People just own the city. They feel like doing something. I want to change the bench. This bench is old. I wouldn't brag that my government like keeps the broken branch. I would go and fix the bench in my park. And this is something that fascinates people. So local people own the city. This fascinates everyone coming over. And yes, I'm out of town. I'm out of time. Okay, I'm out of time. That's it then. I still had like few more pitches to praise Vilnius. But yes, you know, Vilnius is great. We don't have time for questions. However, I'm here and I think I still have some of these hearts. So if you want to put that on your phone, come grab me. I'll share the Game Dev heart with you. And thank you for coming.